Welcome back to the Project Management Fundamental course. In this module, we will continue looking at project managers and looking more to the roles, types, and characteristics. And in the previous video, we've talked about project management and project management. We've also talked about programs and portfolio and looked at the different types of organizational structures. So, who is a project manager? A project manager is someone who is responsible for planning, organizing, and directing the completion of specific projects for an organization. And the idea is that to ensure that those projects are on time, on budget, and within scope. Remember, we talked about the three constraints of a project management: time, budget, or cost, as you might call it, as well as scope. So, and this then leads to, why do we actually need someone to manage projects? If we already know, what project management is all about, if we know that we have to be, more focused on making sure we're on time, where the cost and budget are there and are okay, and we can deliver the right quality and scope, why do we still need someone to, be part of this? I mean, it's like saying you have a set of activities that needs to be done, but you just leave the activities and hope that they will do themselves. It doesn't work that way. Now, even though you know what to do as an organization, you need someone who needs to keep an eye on those things. For example, communication, setting deadlines, defining what the goals are, what kind of risk there are, which are all connected to project management, teamwork. How should we analyze something? Who takes care of the budget? Who plans the work? How do we manage solving problems? And what are the milestones that when we reach, we know we're doing fine? And this tells you why project managers are important, because what they help do is define what activities and tasks needs to be done, which is in terms of the goal and scope. They can also help plan when you want the tasks and activities to be completed in terms of time or schedule. They help in prioritizing tasks to show dependencies and what kind of risk we have. Also to assign tasks to the relevant team members, which is more the resources, so that the people know what they need to do. And also they help in managing cost of execution, that is executing tasks and activities when you talk about cost or budget, because then it's important that we not only spend because we need something, but someone needs to look at in what way should we spend, and is it wise to spend this amount, or which people or supplier do we need to go to. A project manager also helps to show full feasibility across the team, which means everyone understands how they're dependent on the other person and what kind of risk will there be if one person does not do something or someone is late. They also help the team and the organization to get insight in making informed decisions, also related to risk and what kind of quality, scope-wise and otherwise, and track timely completion of projects, as well as do things like coaching, influencing, and managing conflicts and leading. So this is basically, these are all the reasons why you would need a project manager to help out in a project. It's so important because just giving a number of people a number of tasks and money to just go ahead without someone keeping track of how the connections of all this work might lead to a lot of things going wrong, which we talked about earlier, why project fails, and that's where project managers become important. Another thing to look at will be what are the type of roles and characteristics of project managers. For example, if you would compare a company, if you would take a project and you would look at it from two aspects. For example, does the project fall within the company strategy, and can you make a realistic business case for that project? If you look at it from both angles and you map them, depending on how a project manager sees both of these, they can fall into different categories. If you take a project, for example, that fall within the company's strategy, that means it's within what the company wants to do, and it has a good business case. The only thing you need is a project manager who can execute, who is really good at executing it, and there's no discussion about whether it's a good thing within the strategy or whether there's a business case. And that's the type of project manager you need. But where it is not within the company strategy, but it really makes for a good business case, then you need a project manager that is considered or known as the expert, someone who takes that project with a good business case and enables it in such a way that you see how that comes within the strategy and the goals and aim of the organization. And these are what experts do. They take something that has value and they use it in a way, make a strategy, come up with a way to do it such that the value gets also to the company or the people who might think this is not what we want, but they don't realize it. But in a situation where the project still falls within the strategy, but there's no really business case yet into that, then you need someone who has a kind of gambling mindset. Well, it's not supposed to be a negative thing, but it's something that you take that project, which we see as valuable for our organization, and we try to look at in what way can we make it can we make a good business case to it. So you need people who can really sell that idea, who can make it look unique to people such that they see a good value out of it. And when it starts making money, then the company also benefits from it. And in a situation where it doesn't really fall in the strategy of the organization and there is really no business case, in that case, you need a miracle worker or the prophet or whatever you want to call it. And that project manager is the one who really looks at the project, who can see what unique business cases can be made depending on the organizational policy, structure, and culture and what they want to achieve, and fit it within the strategy of the organization or come up with a way of implementing that project that it adds value to that organization. And these are things that really, when you look at, so you can look at yourself and look at a project and the kind of person you are and the way a project is looked at in an organization in terms of business case, as well as whether it's within the strategy. There are a number of characteristics a project manager needs to have to be able to fit into any of these. For example, leading by example is a visionary, one who can see way beyond what other people see, to see the business value and to come up with a strategy. Most prophets are there. Some are technically competent than others, and it might be very useful in terms of execution. Decisiveness, it's also a very good characteristic, being able to make decisions, know what the risks are, the consequences of the decision made. A good communicator, which is very important to be able to really carry people along, to get your stakeholders going, to be able to pass messages across, which is something someone like a gambler, as a project manager that wants to really make a good business case out of a project that people don't see having a good one, then you need a good communication person there. Also, a project manager will have to be very motivational, stand up to top management when necessary, and also support team members when needed and encourage new ideas. And there are many other ones you can find out yourselves there, but these are some examples to look at and see what kind of characteristics and roles that project managers play and why they are important. Thank you for listening, and we will continue in the next video.